So, hello everyone. Today we will do Indian Express newspaper of 30th of May. All right, 30th of May. Since because I had in one interview, I couldn't do the newspaper of those period. Right, I went to Jalandhar for my SSB interview, and for which I couldn't complete from 30th to 31st of 30th to 31st, and hence I will be continuing reading newspaper of Indian Express. So let's go. And here is the rocket. ISRO's GSLV rocket carries navigation satellite NVS-01 lifts off from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota on Monday. That is this liftoff. What they did? It is ISRO's GSLV rocket carrying navigation satellite NVS-01. All right. This is this one is your NVS-01. uh, all right, and the GSLV is the rocket is taking off from Satish Dhawan Space Center from Sriharikota. All right, let's move forward. Capital records 209% excess in May rainfall. Right. So Savdag Jung Weather Observation Observatory, which provides some marker for city, records 7.2 millimeter of rainfall. The Savdag Jung Weather Station has record excess rainfall this year, having seen 160 millimeter, which is 98.2% over the normal of 6.88 millimeter for the season. All right. Rainfall in Delhi on account of western disturbance. All right, western disturbance is the main reason and the main reason for turbulence that has affected northwest India. The IMD forecast for northwest India for the month of June indicates that rainfall over the region is likely to be below normal. Maximum temperature, which has been kept in check by rainfall and cloudy skies for part of summer, are likely to be above normal in this month. All right, and rainfall and thunderstorm activities over northwest India is likely to continue till 31st May 31st, and with a western disturbance affecting the region. All right, let's move forward then. And here it is, the demolition of 15th century structure. So for which you have to remember what are the structures of 15th century and who dominated in India for 15th century. All right, you don't have to study more than that. And Ashram flyover opens for the heavy vehicle. Now the traffic disturbance at the entrance point of flyover of Noida and the Lajpat Nagar side will ease down. Commuting will get smoother between Noida and center northwest Delhi. All right, and completion of the connection and this completion of connection the loop from the Sarai Khale Khan to Lajpat Nagar, and it is a strategic infrastructure. Remember, the infrastructure are also made for this strategic purpose, right? It is a strategic infrastructure developing with ensure better traffic management, resulting in seamless and smooth travel experience for all Delhi computants. Plus, it would be very safe for most of the people, right? It will be safe. Less accidents can be seen. Let's move forward. And this is the Vande Bharat Express, right? In the Assam Northeast gets first Vande Bharat. The Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, Union Minister Sabnath Sonowal, and Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma during the flag off ceremony of Guwahati New Jalpaiguri Vande Bharat Express train at Guwahati railway station on Monday. Right. So let's move forward. Here is ISRO first launch 5 second generation navigation satellite. Right. This is we are talking about the ISRO's GSLV F12 rocket carries the NVS-01 lifts off in Sriharikota from Satish Dhawan Center. Right. We have talked on the very first page number. The first of the five. That means total five will be sent, and it is second generation satellite for the navigation of Indian constellation nav IC. All right, nav IC means navigation by Indian constellation nav IC. And the constellation is plagued by falling atomic clock and satellite nearing the end of its mission life. Remember it. It is important. The constellation is plagued by falling atomic clock and satellite nearing the end of the mission life. It is explained later on. Satellite took off from the second launch pad, GSLV F12, inserted just over 18 minutes later into geosynchronous transfer orbit. Right? The satellite has mission life of more than 12 years, longer than the 10 years mission left of the first generation. That means the first generation was around 10 years mission, and the second generation is around 12 years mission. Right? And in the constellation, and the satellite also carries on board the indigenously developed rubidium atomic clock. All right, it is indigenously Indian developed rubidium. Remember the point, rubidium atomic clock, and the uh, first magnetic leviation reactor wheel. Right, that that is the reaction wheel are used to control the orientation of spacecraft precisely. All right, that means it has the rubidium atomic clock and first magnetic levitation reaction wheel. That is the reaction wheel that can use to for the orientation of the spacecraft precisely. It will provide signals in the L1 frequency along with L5 and S band frequency. All right, remember it within L5 and S band frequency, as I've told, and it is used by the predecessor. Like earlier, it was also used and more interoperable with GPS. That means it will be more operational with the GPS purpose, and it will be provide navigation for the civilian purposes and for the time data and positioning. All right, then we have this JNK get its full-fledged zoo at Khanpur, Nagrota. All right, Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir got its Jambu Zoo. All right, Jambu Zoo in the natural green landscape at the Khanpur, Nagrota and foothills of Shivalik, along with Jammu and Srinagar National Highway on the outskirts of Jammu city, spread over 70 hectares, and it is cost around 62.41 crore rupees, and project was funded by the Jammu and Kashmir Infrastructure Development Finance Corporation, JKIDFC. And it earlier we had the deer park at Manda near here, which is being converted into rescue center. All right, by the Center Zoo Authority, and it is named after Raja Jambu. All right, this Jambu Zoo is named after Raja Jambu Lochan, who, accordingly to the folklore, he founded the Jambu city and seeing a lion and goat drinking water together on the bank of Tavi, an area of around 162 hectare. It is the biggest zoo in the North India. After it has lots of animals after Chandigarh, and pair each of the Bengal tiger, Asiatic lion, the black buck, gharial, and the marsh crocodile. And Asiatic lion will come from Gujarat, the Hisar and Chennai Zoo, marsh crocodile and Bengal tiger. The Zambuzu will also get a gharial from Lucknow Zoo, and leopard, black bear, sambar, goral, hog deer, nilgai, cheetah, cheetal, porcupine, and peacock, flightless bird, leopard cat, and jungle cat among the reptiles. Royal snakes shifting from Manda Deer Park, battery operated vehicle, and cycle for zoo visit. Childcare room, water point, and trial path. Awareness and education center. Amphibianate, natural interpretation center, orientation center for the awareness of visitors, and both online and offline ticket facility, parking facility of around 130 cars and 9 buses and 90 two-wheel cars. All right, so these are the facilities which have been getting. Now Odisha has launched a new credit linked scheme for the rural people. Right, it is very good scheme, and it is known as Mo Ghara. Mo Ghara means my home. A credit link housing scheme for around 4 lakh poor rural families in the state, aim to converting kacha house into pakka house. All right, and applicants can apply it from the dedicated portal. The center has also sanctioned around 9.5 lakh houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin PMAYG. PMAG. The scheme will have a financial implication of around rupees 2150 crores over a period of 2 years. Moghara scheme is beneficiary can avail house loan up to 3 lakhs. All right, they can get house loan up to 3 lakhs, which can be repaid in 10 years, excluded 1 year of moratorium period in easy installment. Four slabs of loan around which can be chosen, while the rate of subsidies will be 30,000 for 1 lakh loan, 45,000 for 1.5 lakh loan, and rupees 60,000 for loan of around rupees 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs. All right, the rupees 10,000 more in all four categories for ST, SCs, and differently able. Now, the family staying in kacha house or one pakka room with a concrete roof will be eligible to get the loan under the scheme. Families with monthly income of below rupees 2000 25,000, not having availed any government housing assistance above 70,000 in the past will be eligible. Families owning four-wheelers car or any other members employed in government job or having irrigated land of 5 acres will not be eligible for the loan. All right. Now we have this in friendly waters. INS Delhi arrives in Malaysia as part of India's Navy. Indian Navy East Fleet deployed to ASEAN countries at Port Klang in Malaysia on Monday. Right. Again, this is an important article which have been given in the editorial. The challenge of the change, given by Nirmala Sitharaman, and she has talked about these what government has given. Modi government has given abrogation of Article 370, pushing up the economy into world's five, despite COVID amalgamation of 10 states-owned banks to four, and getting them into prime health, the good service and tax, the insolvency and bankruptcy code, digital public infrastructure, yield 6 billion payment transaction in a month, 74 airport built and operationally delivered by 6 notorious delayed infrastructure project, one delayed by over 5 decades, repeal of 1400 archaic law and 39,000 compliances, permanent commission for women in the armed forces, highest ever defense export, becoming the third largest producer of renewable energy. And these are but few outcomes of the fundamental changes made in the way we are governed. All right, GST Article 370, vaccination, triple talaq, center vista. These are the some vigorous argued. All right, the pandemic and its second wave, violation in fuel and fertilizers price, and Ukraine war were having spilled over the effect global to provide immunities to large population. There are the pressing need to have a vaccine in time. All right, manufacturing sufficient doses to make urgency. India conducting the biggest vaccine drive, administering around 220 crore vaccine free of charge. And if parliamentary needs a new house to discuss the issue related to the common people, the people need a pakka house to live in it. More than 3.5 crore pakka houses have been constructed in these 9 years. 11.72 crores toilets have been constructed with 100% saturation achieved in rural areas. 12 crore households have been given access to clean drinking water. And during COVID, 2.97 crore India who were caught up in various parts of world were safely brought back home. Number of higher education institution built and made operational in staggering 700 medical colleges, 15 AIMS, over 69,000 medical seats, 7 IITs, 7 IIMs, 15 IITs, and 390 universities, all new. Fish production taken 63 years to take the production level to 59.14 lakh tons. That means it took 63 years fish production. And in just 9 months, we had added another 59.89 lakh tons. And global, we now rank third. Now rank second in fruits and vegetable production. All right, next to China. And our dairy sector, which employs more than 8 crore farmers today, ranks first in the world milk production. India contributed 22% of the global milk production, second largest honey production in the world. India poultry sector ranks third in global, all right, in egg production. And misuse of taxpayers' money had been removed. 3.99 crore duplicate fake ration cards and 4.11 crore fake LPG connections were cancelled, and this has resulted in saving more than 2.73 lakh crore in 21 to 22. However, in these 9 years, total transfer through direct benefit transfer (DBT) are more than 29 lakh crore. All right, and over 80 crore people were given free food grains and pulses so they do not remain hungry. Our border road and villages were left underdeveloped because we were told that if developed they would be useful for the enemy. Now PM Gati Shakti and Bhaskaracharya National Institute of Space Application and Informatic, that is BIAGN, are bringing resources efficiency for the real-time monitoring, and there are 1,020 women per 1,000 men. Maternal mortality rate has declined to 97 in 2019-22 under Mudra Yojana. 68% beneficiary are women. 68% beneficiary are women. Paid maternity leave have been increased from 12 to 26 weeks, and Jan Anushandhani Kendras dispensed over 27 crore sanitary pads. Get administered to the Sainik school now. So these are the things which have been discussed. All right. Now this slow and slower. Now, German economy has slid into the recession. GDP fell to 0.3%. Household cut back on spending due to high inflation and aggressive monetary policy. Considering that the German economy is largest in Europe, the entire Europe region slowed down significantly during this period and barely managing to escape a recession. And grim economic picture is not just limited to Eurozone. US economy seemed to be losing steam. The International Monetary Fund, which had earlier projected the economy to contract by 0.3%, now expect to grow by 0.4%. And this is falling because of falling energy prices and the healthy demand. Although with inflation being sticky, interest rates are likely to remain up. China's economic recovery is losing momentum with some recent data coming in considering below the expectation. Some analysts have already begun to factor in additional support by authorities with the Chinese economy splunted and global economy outlook weakening. The Singapore, a major interport of trade and capital flow, contradicted in the first quarter. The effect of slowing global economy on India are already evident and growing by 17% in the first half of 2022-23, April September, and merchandise export plummeted in the second half of the year. October March contracted by 33.7% with global demand coming under pressure. In April 2023, goods export contracted further by 12.7%, with more than non poor product category witnessed decline. Now here it is depletion force. Reducing the manpower could hit army operation capability. He is a major general. He has written about the he he is more focused on right sizing and Atmanirbharta. All right, and OROP was not though through enterprise. All right, so he told that Agniveer scheme, which intended to kill both birds by one stone, reducing manpower and pension bill. So he's thinking that army has bought the Agniveer scheme just because of pension bill. He's an old major general. He might be thinking that everything is about pension and reducing manpower. We have to reduce the manpower, but we require young men, not these old major generals, right? And all they care about their pension, and politicians stayed in the background and from the military shoulder. Now, 23 is the year of army. Agniveer recruit conversion in June 23 intakes of 40,000 soldiers when 70,000 soldiers continue to be retired. The adverse impact of zero recruitment and personal retirement being constant for the nearly 3 years and combat units are being serious. Now it prefers that old system of 15 years recruitment plus pension. The integration defense staff ordered a 10% cut in manpower across the force, and these cuts are ad hoc sans a strategic defense and security review. All right, and one reason for the dilution of manpower in the army is the considerably improved in insurgent situation in Jammu and Kashmir, in South Banihal, Northeast two mountain division fighting insurgency. Counter insurgency mission is now under the in the Assam Rifles. Now, a very good another idea space has been given. A new parliament for New India. Now, Rakesh Sinha, a transaction can be painful, especially for those who resist it. Now, Nehruvian state has shown an affinity for the Europe Liberals Institute and thoughts. It derived legitimacy from them. Narendra Modi, on the other hand, challenged colonialist ideas and institution, which had continued before he came PM under the facet of the continuation with change. The consolidation India's soft power, using it history and liberated instincts for the institution from the European bent. The new parliament building is not merely replaced in procedure because of the latter is not enough space and falling city members. Impact of the colonialism, not only political and economical impact, it is also impacting on the culture, ideas, and institution. Right? State and society under Nehru looked to the West to define democracy, secularism, and above all culture. K.C. Bhattacharya said in one of the lecture, right? And the dominant leaders of the freedom movement crushed the culture nationalists like Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Aurobindo Ghosh. So remember all these names; these are important. Bal Pal, all right. Uh, these were the people who led to. These are the extremists, all right. And Nehru ignored the collective will and people and dragged India into Commonwealth, which is led by unelected King Queen of Britain. Now, it is a reminder that the old building was seat of power of those who frame law, appropriate action to crush the people, and placed as museum will be beginning of the rewriting of history in our own terms. Capabilities of Modi's vision and Marxist thinker Frank's Fanon worldwide is a great coincidence. Construction of Parliament building is not an isolated project; it is a part of holistic effort. All right, Tiranga Yatra and Amrit Mahotsav, these are hundreds of unsung freedom fighters, and incident struggle and sacrifices have been celebrated. And the government also discarded 1700 colonial era law. And the taxpayer is not merely an economic actor but rather an idea, a cultural chorus that draws its identity not just is from the constitution but also India's civilization and culture. Now, in parliamentary democracy, the PM is at the center. How do they justify the boycott of inauguration? And by demanding that it is done by it is done by President Nehru wrote a letter to Chief Minister asking them not to attend the inauguration. Silanyas of Somnath Temple in Gujarat by the first President of India, Rajendra Prasad. President Farikuddin Ali Ahmed was forced to sign emergency proclamation with a cabinet meeting and approve and former approval. Right? We have to build strong and prosperous nation, and we have to establish democratic polity, and we have to remove gross inequality and elimination of poverty and unemployment. We have to empower the people. All these aspirations and expectation can be fulfilled overnight. Right? Now let's move forward. Now, Uganda enacted the harsh anti-LGBT law that carries death penalty. Japan missiles on alert after North Korea warns it will be launched satellite. Now, Japan puts its ballistic missile defense on the alert, vowed to shoot down any projectile that threaten its territory. Nuclear arms North says it is completed its first military spy satellite, and leader Kim Jong Un has approved final preparation for the launch. And a new solid fuel intercontinental ballistic missile. It has a new solid fuel intercontinental ballistic missile, and Tokyo expected North Korea to fire the rocket carrying its satellite over the Japan Southwest Island chain as it did in 2016. New satellite, part of surveillance technology program that included drone, aimed to improve the ability of strike target in wartime. Now, here all right, Chinese astronauts for upcoming Shenzhou 16 mission from left. I'm not going to read the names, and it is a Jiquan satellite launch center in China. All right, China announces plan to land astronauts on Moon by end of 2030. Now, lunar surface landing target to 2025. China's space program plan to plan astronauts on the moon before 2030 and expand the country's orbital space station. American spending supply chain with capabilities are believed to give a significant edge over China. US aim to put astronauts back to lunar space by end of 2025, plan for the permanent crew base on the moon. And US law tightens strict cooperation between the two countries' space programs, while China says it welcomes foreign collaboration and those who have far been limited to science research. SpaceX and Blue Origin are such examples. All right. The fresh crew includes civilian from the first time, and all previous crew had been from the PLA, that is Liberation Army, and the military wing of Communist Party. China's first manned space mission in 2023 made it third country after USSR and the US to put a person into space. China's built its own space station after it was excluded from the International Space Station, largely due to US uh, objection over the Chinese space program. All right. Now, this South Korea hosts first summit with Pacific Island leaders. All right, South Korea President Yoon Sung Yeol hosted the country's first summit in the leaders of Pacific Island. South Korea will also consider additional funding initiative to support the Pacific region. Yoon launched his administrative Indo-Pacific strategy last year, free, peaceful, and prosperous Pacific. And South Korea's Indo-Pacific strategies also seen greater scope for the trilateral cooperation with United States and Australia. Australia and New Zealand are larger member of this forum. All right, that is New Zealand and Australia are the greater. Amid rising ocean threats in New Jersey, new study says the city is sinking because of the massive weight, and that Queens and downtown Manhattan are losing soil and sinking faster. New York City is risking of flood because of the massive storm that can cause the ocean to swell islands or inundate neighborhood with tormented rain. And New York City isn't the only city sinking. San Francisco also is putting considerable pressure on the ground and region. Active earthquake fault. In Indonesia, the government is preparing for the possible retreat from Jakarta, which is sinking into Java Sea, and for a new capital being constructed on the higher ground on an entirely different island. That means Indonesia is going to change it's going to change its capital because of this sinking problem. Now, many group deep fault line history of insurgents in the Manipur. Now let us read it. All right, 40 insurgents have been killed by the security forces, and the Kuki National Organization (KNO) countered his claim. What is history of conflict? Cross current of India's oldest insurgency movement, Naga a national movement in 1950s. The fight for an independent Nagalim touches part of Manipur. The Meiti is Manipur were opposing the merging allegation with Manipuri king Maharaja Bodh Chandra and India, and Meiti National Liberal Front (UNLF) are the form demand the cession from India. They want cession be separated by the India. And Methi insurgent group and Valley insurgent group came into being, such as People's Revolution Party in Kolingpan and Prepak and People's Liberation Army (PLA), which receives arms and training from China. And this dual purpose independence from India and warding of Naga insurgency group. All right, this Koki Zomi group mobilized in reaction to Naga aggression against the Kukis. A massacre of Kuki by the NCC and IM left thousands of Kukis homeless, and Kuki Zomi tribe organized armed group after this. Around the same time, similar clashes have been taking place between the Metis and the Meti Pangal Muslim, an Islamic group People United Liberation Front. What is the government reaction? The Indian government enacted the Armed Forces Special Protection Act in 1958 across the Nagaland and parts of Manipur, and after the situation have been controlled, it had removed these Armed Forces Powers Acts, and at tripartite suspension operation SAO agreement between the center and state and the Kogi Zomi group in 2008 took place, and AFSPA was lifted off from several areas. All right, and there is Methi dominance areas have been given, Kuki dominance area, Naga dominance area have been given. You can read it out. And the Valley insurgent groups have been, however, never been agreed to any agreement with the center or participated in any peace talk, and technical remains active. What is Kukizumi insurgent group? These are the movement starting on the defense against the aggression by the other groups and quickly morphing into called the Kuki land and Kuki Zomi inhabitant area of India, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. Over time, with this was diluted to simple call of separated state. The Churachan district has been largely number of insurgency group in Manipur, and the primary group in the area include the KNO, its arm wing, and Kuki Revolutionary Army, and Zumi Reunification Organization, Zumi Revolutionary Army. Now, what is the dominant group? UNLF consideration the mother of all Metis in the insurgency group remained the most powerful till recently, and UNLF is believed to have received its initial training from NSC and IM. The other powerful groups like KCP and KYKL emerged over time. The Valley group, in particular the UNLF, called off strike for the time to time, and Metis group have been set in stone with Valley moral code through rules such as ban on Hindi movies, music ban on Indian clothes, and ban on alcohol. The group also levy taxes on the public, and the group dictates the voters to who should win. And parties like NPP and Kuki People Alliance started gaining around the Chazazund, and a directive from KNO presidencies to vote for the BJP swung the electorate in the uh, party favor. Right. This one is really important. This several hits for the few misses by Udit Mishra. All right. GDP is the total market value for. Let me just zoom it out. Okay, Udit Mishra. GDP is the total market value of all finished goods and services, and if prices go up by 10% across the board, without any additional goods or services being produced, the GDPs too can go up 10%. What is absolute GDP and growth rate? The absolute level of India's GDP at the end of March 2023 was around 159.7 lakh crores compared to rupees 98 lakh crores at the end of March 2014. India's GDP has been grown by 63% over the 9 years of NDA 2 government, and in the 9 predecessor year 2025 to India's absolute GDP grew by 97%. So it is under the three distinct phases. The annual GDP growth rate was 8% for the first 3 years. The deaccelerated sharply over the next 3 years in 18 to 20, and falling to below 4% in 2020, right? And 21 to 23 GDP growth rate first contracted by more than 6% in 2021, and 9% and 7% in financial year of 22 and 23 respectively. Comparable economies struggle with low growth recession help India regain its status on the faster growing faster growing growth rate is expected to lie between 5.5 to 6.5 in the current financial year. All right. Average income, earlier it was around 78.348, right? But it has risen to around 1 lakh 15,000, and that means it went up by 47%. All right, and India's estimation is around 2 lakh, sorry, $2,600. Bangladesh is uh, Bangladesh is a little lower. All right, and India's per capita income grew by 67. Per capita income grew by 67% between 2014 to 2023, and compared to 145 between 200 and 2004 to 2014. Now, rate of inflation. The India saw double digit in inflation leading up to 2014. High price of crude oil, crude price crashed from more than 90%, $90 a barrel for less than $30 a barrel between 2013 to 2016. Domestic inflation subsidies. All right. For the uh, for the current financial year, inflation is expected to fall close to RBI target of 4%. World's most populous country, job creation is even more important than increasing its GDP in order to reduce widespread of poverty in sustainable manner. More production and better paying sector such as manufacturing and services is the key. Tried to bring about this structure perform through the now repealed farm law or policies like Make in India and Production Linked Incentive PLI aim to increase the India's manufacturing capabilities and soaking up excess labor. Now, and all right, India's continue to face considerable employment related to stress. Unemployment level has risen to 45 years higher, and even elevated level of unemployment due to adequate capture of situation, because the proportion of people seeking work itself has coming down. The population continuing to increase, the employment rate, total number of people with a job as proportion to all working age people in country has fallen sharply. India has the most number of people living in abject poverty. 137 millions were living under rupees 46 per day. 612 million were living in 78 per day. The pandemic made things worsen. Poverty went from between 23 million and 56 million. All right, and India is one of the most unemployed country. Income of the total 10% of population, and about 22 times in the bottom 50%. All right, and many Indian companies were left to leverage on heavily in debt and banking, and saddened with the growing pile of non-performing assets. The government has done well in both aspects. Bank has reduced the NPA and their capital adequacy ratio. A key feature of these financial health is also for all types of health, and the announcement of new projects have been seen trending upwards. Bulk of Indian international trades happen in US dollar. The rupee exchange rate against the dollar often captures the reliability of India's trade performance and its ability to attract foreign investment. Exchange rate weakens, more rupees are required to buy a dollar. All right, more rupees are required to buy a dollar, and if India imports more than its export, and vice versa, its strengths in India attracts more foreign investments. All right, that means if India is imports more than it export, and vice versa, its strengths, if India at if India attract more foreign investments, and vice versa. The rupee has seen sustained weakening, and this is not necessarily a bad thing for developing economies such as India. So we have economic forums like GST to aim the simplified indirect taxation and insolvency and bankruptcy code, making the process of insolvency quicker and more effective. We have Aadhaar framework of delivered financial services and beneficiary. digital transformation, including the increasing availability of high price internet to more and more citizens, and empowering them to access services and facilities for both the government, such as direct cash transfer, and private sector, such as UPI, PSU disinvestments. The success rate sales of Air India, which have been stuck for better part of 2 decades, understood by and the government better part of 2 decades underscored the government commitment to move over the loss making PSUs, cut in corporate taxes, India's in taxes of firms and order boost private sector's investment. Capital expenditure, the government has ramped up its capital expenditure of rupees 10 lakh crores for current years, and often by reducing revenue expenditure so that the fiscal deficit does not worsen. The upshot, 2014 India's economy was classified as one of the fragile one, and domestic inflation was persistently high. The GST and Aadhaar were stuck, and many economies are struggling to grow. India's economy rate puts it brighter spots, and however, internally there is a lot of ground still to cover, creating more jobs and making India's more employable through the scaling and raising per capita income as per the new metric target. All right, so let's move forward. So the privatization of BSP to happen as per the schedule. All right. Uh, the public sector banks are going to be privatized. It will be beneficiary. All right. Employment rate falls to 6.8% in January March 2023. NSO have been given G20 members to discuss framework to start up the defined startups. All right. This will give a better through this. It will give better foreign direct investments can be seen. Common framework will help in making the more investment in those areas. All right. Then a debt to earning ratio to stay below 2 times in financial 2020. The steel makers, all right, 7 to 9% demand of financial year 2024. Growth likely to be domestic steel, 70% share of steel in the infrastructure and the construction sector, 1 to 2%. Recovery is seen in the global demand, and 83% likely to operate rates of domestic players. All right. Then we have the ONGC to invest rupees 111k crore in energy transaction targeting net zero by 2023. Now, India's top oil gas production ONGC will invest around 1 lakh crore by 2023 on energy transit project to target net zero carbon emission by 2038. Preparing roadmap for net zero emission as part of national's commitment to deal with the climate change. Net zero for a company means achieving a balance between the quantum of greenhouse gases it places into atmosphere and amounts it takes out. Now, the company is planning to the scale up electric generation from renewable source of energy from 189 megawatt to 1 gigawatt by 2030, and 5 gigawatt of project planning in Rajasthan, and is scouting for a similar capability. And he said adding ONGC would also look at offshore oil farm. All right, and we have the uh, let me zoom in. This BPCL plans to trial to see if diesel spikes with ethanol can be commercially viable proportional. That means government-owned refined fuel retainer Bharat Petroleum Corporation plan to see conduct trial on diesel spike with the ethanol by running vehicle on blended fuel on a pilot basis. And BPCL is currently in talk with Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gases, and being successful to establishment of the technical and commercial viability. Unlike the petrol blended ethanol in diesel, we are not continuously considering due to differences in the chemistry of biofuel and the diesel. Like petrol, ethanol is a class A product. Petrol and ethanol is a class A product, and diesel is a class B product. Mixing diesel with the class A product like ethanol would cause knocking in the engine. And the PPL has developed a binder or a additive which facilitates homogeneous blending of ethanol with diesel and the government could allowed even an encouraging spike diesel with ethanol. Unlike the ethanol petrol blending program, diesel blending never really took off in India due to challenge with the feedstock availability and availability of ethanol, increasing in the countries and numerous second and third generation ethanol unlikely units likely to come on stream on the next few years. There is likely to be more ethanol supply than what would required for blending with petrol. If blending ethanol in diesel does take off, a part of that excess ethanol could be utilized there. And currently, ethanol blended level in petrol stands at around 12%, and the government and the public sector fuel retailer are confident of achieving 20% blended pan India by 2050, 2025 to 26. And apart from reducing emission of conventional fuel, blending biofuel with petrol and diesel is seen as an instrument of reducing the country crude oil import, and the world's third largest consumer of the crude oil. India is dependent on import to meet over 85% of its oil requirement, and leading to massive foreign exchange spending. With a share of around 40% of India's petroleum consumption pile, diesel is the most consumable refined petroleum products in India. Hence, we have completed this newspaper, and I hope it really helped. And thank you, everyone. I'll continue till the present date.